They say marriage is for better for worse, but what if the worst is simply boredom? Many couples are living together like strangers, stable on paper but broken in spirit. Every woman dreams of a marriage filled with love, laughter, and romance. But what happens when all that fades away? Can a marriage survive without passion? Is marrying a good man enough if your heart feels empty? Tonight, we challenge that very idea. And now, before we dive into today's heart-to-heart, it's time for our quote of the day, a thought to inspire and empower you. Lasting love has to be built on mutual regard and respect. It is about seeing the other person. I am very interested in relationships, and when I watch couples, sometimes I sense a blindness has set in. They have stopped seeing each other. It is not easy to see another person. And this quote is from the legendary Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the Nigerian novelist. Let this quote guide us into today's conversation as we break this case down for clarity. Let's get started.
Hello, 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 audience. Hello, hello, tune in now, no delay, no delay, no delay. Hello, Delhi.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just about that time for us to delve into our exceptional case for today. This case comes to us from a woman who is experiencing marital dissatisfaction and unmet expectations. She writes, "Hello, Mommy Debbie. Thank you for all you do. Please hide my ID and help me with your wise counsel. I have been married for 5 years now to a great and loving man, and we've been blessed with 2 adorable kids. He is quite good in some aspects, but very reserved and not as romantic as I prefer. He goes to work, comes back, eats and watches soccer. Weekends, he stays at home, and if he's not traveled, it's church and work. We rarely go out, and I've missed my old self for so long. We don't have any fun events except for very close friends and family. And most times, I am the one insisting on it. To be honest with you, I married him out of convenience, but I hoped he would change. I know this sounds crazy, but I had an ex who was more lively and fun. We were so happy, and he brought out the best side of me. We went places and had the most fun. Some days I truly miss him, and I wish to have the feelings I used to have. I recently bumped into my ex, and all those good old days came back to heart. Though he is married with kids, I truly miss him, or at least the times we shared. I feel like I married the wrong person, and I would give anything to get my fun side again. I'm not cheating, and I don't intend to be, but for how much longer will this last? And Mommy, is there a way I could go or make my husband come out of his state of his? Please hide my ID and I'll be in the comment section." Wow, wow, wow. This case presents several intriguing facets. After the break, we will carefully unpack these complexities for your understanding and consideration before proceeding to our analysis. Don't touch the dial.
With MoneyFX, sending money home just got faster. Enjoy top exchange rates, low fees, and transfers that land in under 10 minutes. Whether it's school fees in Cameroon, hospital bills in Nigeria, or family support in Ghana, MoneyFX makes every transfer count. MoneyFX, fast money transfer when it matters most.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just about time for us to delve into the nitty-gritties of our case. And this analysis is going to be based off of the cause and the effects that has brought her into this situation. And yes, they have key factors or key persons that we'll be talking about, which of course have been affected by the case at hand. We have this wife, she is feeling stuck, she's missing romance, she's longing for her fun side. Then we have a husband, a very responsible husband. He's a very reserved man, he's unaware of his wife's emotional needs. Then there's an ex in the picture who is equally married, symbolizing her lost spark and her past happiness. And of course, we have the children who were indirectly affected by the marital tension and the possible instabilities. And just like I always say, I am only going to go by the facts of the story, the things you have said, and yes, make some assumptions because you are not here to fill in those blank spaces, and of course, the other parties are not here to give the own side of the story. So let's start with the husband. And starting with the husband, I'm going to look at it from two angles. Interestingly, let's look at the husband from the angle of a villain and the angle of the victim. Because yes, with what has been presented to us, there is no how he's going to just play one side. Remember, I did mention that he is again not here to give his own side of the story. So there's a whole lot of assumptions that we will be making. Now, in your words, she said, he is quite a good man in some aspects, but very reserved. And he's not as romantic as I'd prefer. Now, this is what she says. Now, meaning that he is married to a good man, but he is boring. Now, understand something. Many women are in this situation. The lack of romantic spark, the lack of the emotional connection. A lot of married women are in this situation than they would admit. Now, let me say this. As a wife, it is your responsibility to put in the spark that is deserving in this part of your husband. Remember, he's the victim here, meaning that you are the villain. So this is one side. One fact I would state about being a victim in this situation is, when it comes to romance, it is not a character trait. Now, this is an aspect that could be worked on. It is not a personality trait that he would say, okay, no, he's just like that, and then we cannot change it. Romance can be worked on. And just like your husband would have taught you so many things in all of these 5 years of marriage, it is equally your responsibility to teach him this side. Because if you're complaining about it, it therefore means that you know exactly what needs to be done. How about you being his helpmate? Help him in this aspect of being romantic. Because again, like I went with your words, he is good, but he is very reserved, and you would have loved more of that. Because you know what's up, because you know the spice, exact spice that is needed. Please step on and do the needful. Remember, every man has a little boy inside of them that needs playfulness, that needs to be revived. And they cannot just revive it if their partners cannot help them do that. He's not just going to wake up and start doing that if he's not seeing it on your side. And so, like I said, playing the victim, it is expected that you as the helpmate step in to help him out. Let's look at the second thing you mentioned. You said, I have been married for 5 years now to a great and loving man, and we've been blessed with 2 adorable kids. I quoted this statement just to show you that this in itself is perfection. What is marriage? You meet somebody, your hearts intertwine, you start up a home, get married, start up a home, start having children, and then there's work, there's finances that are coming in, and then you people live happily. This is the setup that you have just presented. Now, that setup does not mean because it is lacking of the romance you're talking about, it is anything short of perfection. There hardly anything as perfect marriage. But if I bring in the word perfection, it just tells you that you have such a good thing going on, and that's why I said it's perfection in itself. But let me take off the word perfection because perfection is too perfect for a marriage setup. Let me look at the word blessing. You have been blessed with these kids. It's 5 years on and going. You have a loving and a caring husband. That in itself is what so many other married people are seeking. Matter of fact, from the fact that so many single people want to be married, so many married people want to be in a situation where they could just have, be in a setup with a man or a woman. Then in itself, there's so many married people who want to have children they've not been blessed with. And so many married women who are married, have children, but they do not have a providing husband or a husband that goes out there and comes back and is loving. That is why initially I said it's perfection. And this is one of the things I see you missing out on it. And that's why I call him the victim in this. But of course, let's keep delving deeper into all of this. Thirdly, again, we already mentioned he's a good man. I insist on the fact that he is a good man. Sadly, good men suffer most. Sadly, good men face the consequences of aspects or things that happen to women that they had no business with it. And so they are stuck or they are caught up with women who have a lot of trauma, a lot of baggages, a lot of issues, and they have to pay for it. Sadly, good men are not very much appreciated. And when we see good men out there, the tendency is that we tend to call them simps. Why? Because they're doing the same things that we always ask our younger selves would crave, our children would be advised to go after. Sadly, when we meet the good men, we want to turn them into bad men. Would you have rather had the opposite of this? A man who is a bad man? Because the tendency is that most women would leave good men and fall for the bad ones. And when the repercussions would set in, they start looking for a good man to handle them with all of their baggages and every other thing that a bad man did to them. This is almost it. Like I said, I am only making assumptions, a lot of assumptions, because you're not here to fill in those blank spaces. But again, when we see a good man, let us encourage it, because it's going to be discouraging to a lot of good men out there who would listen to this case and think, I am doing all of this, making all of these sacrifices to be good, not just to myself, but to you and the kids. And if it is not appreciated, like I said, it is so discouraging, not just to married men, but to single ones who are looking at having stable families and being the good men that they are meant to be. Let's look at him like a villain. Now, looking at him like a villain, not to invalidate your emotions, not to invalidate your complaints, not to say that what you have said does not add up, to say that yes, we understand, yes, we see your pain, yes, there is need for that, because you deserve the emotions, you deserve the romance. We are not saying that marriage should be void of romance simply because a man is good, simply because a man provides, simply because he is present. No, the emotional side of a woman has to be taken care of. I say a woman because again, it's a woman that has brought this on. But again, this is something couples would understand, that the emotional needs of your partner is fully dependent on you. It is not just about the provision. And so let's look at the fact that for the most part, you could discard the woman's emotions, because I bring in all of these things. I go out there, I work, meaning that you are an emotionally unavailable partner who provides. An emotionally unavailable provider. Literally, that's what is happening. And so for the most part, you would see men as such who would provide, and it looks like that's it. I'm not the one to handle that. You take care of yourself and stuff. Again, I insist, not just to this sister, but of course, any other man listening to me, that the emotional needs of your spouse is highly dependent on you. Otherwise, it's only a matter of time and they would have to seek it somewhere, because those needs are very much present. And just like you provide other needs of theirs, basic needs for the family, the emotional one has to be prioritized as well. He is an available partner. He goes to work, he comes back, he eats and he watches soccer. Weekends he stays at home, and if he's not traveled, he's in church or at home. In a world where men give excuses to stay out of home, where some men will take days and years to come back home, in a world where they give excuses, they come back late, you have an available partner. When other women are asking to see their husbands are unavailable, your partner is there. This is something to commend. Would you have rather he would go out there, waste time, spend time in beer parlors, hang out with friends, and come home when you're tired or maybe asleep? Because again, sometimes we want to look at the other side of the things we're complaining about. Because it is not a middle ground. You have this thing and then you either have this or that. It is not a middle ground. An available partner he is. And we want to appreciate that. Okay, enough said about that. Now let's consider this guy as a villain. Okay, just so that it doesn't feel like we are insensitive to your plight, sister. Just so that we factor in your needs. Because yes, you have the right to complain. You need a husband who is not just a provider, but equally factors in your emotional needs. And let me say this to the men listening to me, and I know that I have amazing men who follow this program. Your wife's emotional need is your responsibility. It does not just suffice for you to be the provider. It is an amazing thing that you provide. However, there's no other person who would provide these emotional needs for her than you. So after having provided all the basic things that a husband is meant to do, remember that she has needs that can only be met by you as the husband. Then in every woman, there is a little girl that wants to play, wants to jump around, needs a hug, needs to be naughty here and there. And again, it takes the husband to bring out that spark, to pamper them and to get them back into the woman that they, or wives that they are meant to be. And so again, it is your responsibility. And looking at this situation, that's why I call him the villain here. And let's give it to this sister that yes, your emotional needs have to be met. Because no, we cannot discard them and say, you know what, because they are providing, then, just hang in there. Your husband is meant to be the provider, and not just providing those needs, but providing the emotional beat as well. But let's look at the reasons why there could be this emotional void, because it would not do so much of justice on the topic if we do not look at it, because there's so many reasons why there could be this emotional disconnect, or the lack of that intimacy or the romance. Let me use the right word, the romance like our sister needs. Okay, it could be loads of reasons. Could it be it's a product of this the culture that treats romance as secondary? Sometimes it feels like romance is not very necessary. And sometimes we say, oh, African men are not very romantic. I didn't say that. I'm just saying this is what is going on out there before you get into the camera and take me out. But let's look at the fact that some people think it is not very necessary. And some men could feel like, I am very vulnerable if I show so much romance. That could be a reason. That could be a possible reason. Society is saying that if you show so much affection, you come across as a weak man. And this man wants to really play, hold the hand of the wife and walk down the street. But guess what? How would my friends see it? This is marriage. And it's not about your friends. It's about the needs of your wife. Just as when it has to do with your own needs, we expect the wife to go all out to meet them, because no other person is meant to meet these needs. Again, could it just be your husband or any other husband listening to this case is as busy, which takes that bit off? Because again, like we always say, men would focus on one thing at a time. You have said he watches soccer. Most likely when he comes, he's focused on the soccer. There's no time to do that. If he's at work, he's focused on work. Maybe, just maybe, his mind is that busy and it has not dawned on him that he has to make space for romance. And that's why it's lacking. But there's a whole lot of things we won't be talking about. As we go ahead, we would make the necessary assumptions, and hopefully we arrive at exactly what it is we should arrive at. Let's look at the X in this situation. Exes. Sadly, exes would always show up. I always say that for some reason. Haven't you noticed exes would always show up? They do show up. And when an ex shows up, but let me take what you said first of all. This sounds crazy, but I have an ex. He was more lively and fun. We were so happy and he brought out the best side of me. We went places and he had the most fun. Some days I truly miss him and I wish to have the feelings I used to have. I recently bumped into my ex and all the good old days came back to heart. Like I said, exes would always show up. They do show up for some reasons. they show up. But the question I ask is, why do they show up? You will be amazed why exes show up. First of all, for the temptation of it. Because these temptations would always come, but it's not for you to fall in them. It is for you to get out of them. Now, exes will show up for so many reasons. And sadly, when they show up, we are deceived to think that we can discard the beautiful thing we have for them. Why? Because of the romance. Exes will always show up. And when they show up, sadly, we are deceived to thinking it is about love. Oh, they still love us, and that's why they showed up. For the most part, they will show up to see if you are so stupid. Exes will show up, but they will show up to see if truly you are happy in your home. Exes will always show up, but for the most part, they would show up to test if you still have feelings for them. Exes will show up, and you will be shocked to know that it is a bet with their friends that they can always have you laid. Exes would always show up, but like I said, it is for the temptations of it. And so no, while you see your ex, it should just remind you of the good old days, and that's it, if that is even necessary. Because that is disrespectful to entertain your exes, whether you're in a relationship or in a marriage. Because like I always say, if you flip the coin, you will realize that this is clearly something you will not be able to take up. I'm yet to see one person who would entertain their partner's exes for whatever reason. And so we will not applaud this simply because it is your turn. And so let's look at it. Revisiting your ex is the first step to your emotional cheating. You have a void inside of you. There's romance that you are craving, so your husband is not giving. Don't you think that this is cheating already? Don't you think that this is in itself? I mean, it's not just about you getting into the physical action. The fact that you're already thinking, it starts from the mind. You already fantasize. You just sit there and just think about, oh, the good old days. No, you crave for it, and you are replaying it in your mind and actually, literally living an illusion in your heart right now. So there are moments when you catch yourself kissing him. There are moments where you catch yourself in bed with him. The moments where you catch yourself smooching and hugging him and playing with him, just to fill in for this emotional void, even if he's not around. That in itself is cheating. And just so you know that. And it is only a matter of time, and the physical bit will fall in place. Let's move ahead and talk about the children. There's really not very much I would love to talk about the children. However, one thing we should understand, it looks like they're not directly affected, but they're always. I've always said this. Children don't necessarily learn from what we tell them. They learn for the most part from what they see us do. So you would not tell your children adultery is a sin, and they see you come out of a man or a woman's bed every now and then. No, they have seen what you have done. They have registered it in them. And because there's a part of their minds, if you did not face the consequences, or if you do not care so much about the repercussions, why would I care about it? Before long, they are replaying the same things that you've asked them not to do. And this is how trauma in kids are birthed. This is how toxicity is birthed. This is how they replay negativity in their own setup when they've gotten in marriage or into relationships. And these are things that we do and think it does not matter. Why? Because I have to tell them what to do, say this, we keep telling them. I've asked you, if the repercussions were as grievous, how come you are still doing it? And so the lesson will not be in telling them what to do, but actually living right so they can see and replicate what it is you do as actions. Again, like I said, these children, for the most part, we always assume they are not watching us. They are watching, they are observing. They see what you do and they will replicate it. Just give it time. Now let's move into the case submitter. This lady who is dealing with unhappiness and loneliness within her marriage. I want to talk to you, sister. I always salute the vulnerability. The fact that it is a lot more women who are going through this case than they would admit. But I'm happy that listening to your own case, they would obviously get their own solutions too, hopefully anyways. And I'm glad that you came timely. So yes, sister, the first thing, I always go with your words, right? But I'm looking at the things that pertain to you that you have said that I think still have to do with your husband or maybe every other party in there, but directly concern you. Now let's look at it this way. Matter of fact, the major thing you have complained about is emotional dissatisfaction. Now this is what you said. I know this sounds crazy, but I had an ex that was more lively and fun. We were so happy and he brought out the best side of me. Think about this. Have you ever thought about the fact that your husband has an ex that he misses too? And he always stays with you out of convenience? Have you ever thought about that too? You know, it's easier to always think that we have issues or we're not the ones with the issues simply because our partners are not complaining. Simply because they've not told us how they truly feel. You know, it's always easy because, okay, you are the one who thinks, you know, you have the right to explain how you feel. But have you thought about the fact that he is just being disciplined? Are you telling me that he did not have an ex? Or even if he didn't, do you think there's no woman out there that tickles his fancy that he would want to play with too? Don't you think if we all have to go all chasing exes and thinking about the things that we've missed and trying to get hold of them, every other person will be out there but in marriage? And so let it sink deep in you to understand that there's a part of your husband that actually misses these things to want to do it, but he is a good husband who is intentional at keeping his home, loving his wife and grooming his kids the right way. So let that sink deep. Next thing, sadly, many African marriages are built on economic convenience, and sometimes we do not admit this, and that's why we'll see, oh, marriage for convenience, void of love. Looking at the age gap, there's no love, but again, I'm looking at the things I stand to benefit materially and all of this. This is usually the case. Now, you have clearly stated you married out of convenience. Now, sadly, this is one of the most disheartening things about this case that I've had to see. Because when we talk about marrying out of convenience, do you understand what that means? It means that you are forfeiting virtue, value, and only going for selfish intentions. Now, with marriage with convenience is you cannot have it all. You can't eat your cake and have it, much less have your cake, eat it, and want it back. So you went in for convenience, for the things that you wanted, and you were thinking he's going to change. It does not work like that. Guess what? Marriage out of convenience is founded for the most part on falsehood. Now, I'm not too bothered. Like I always say, every adult makes these decisions. We make our choices. We just need to live with these choices. Sadly, we fail to understand how these choices would affect other people. Because, oh, it's about my life and going for what I want. Have you thought about it? Now, marriages out of conveniences would give you maybe a huge bank account. But that is saying, this person's character, this person's vices, I am willing to tolerate them because I want to have all the convenience. Meaning that I've looked at this man, he is a wife beater, he is an abuser, he is a bad guy, he is all of these negative things, but I choose convenience. Now again, like I said, if this were to be just about you, I would understand. But you have kids that have to come into the picture. Do you consider that these are traits that would follow your kids? Or doesn't that mean anything to you? Because this is what we do. We get into these things, we say it's out of convenience. Before long, we start crying foul. Sadly, there are kids who are a spitting resemblance of the same man we had no business being with. This is not the case with your husband, sadly. For the most part, those who marry out of convenience is like the most selfish thing ever. Oh, because even going down to the level of physical attributes. Oh, this man is not what I want, but hey, this man does not think the way I want, he does not sound the way I want, he does not, but I don't care. My kids can have all these traits, and I don't care as long as I have a big bank account, as long as I have all the goodies. And again, these are choices that we make, but they come with the consequences that some, for the most part, we fail to admit them or own up to them when they show up. Let's talk about the next thing you said. You said, I feel like I married the wrong person and I will give anything to get my fun side again. We've already talked about the chances of your husband having these same needs as well, but because he is a man of integrity, he loves his family, he's sacrificial, and he's disciplined for the most part. He's not putting all these complaints in front of you. But saying that you married the wrong person simply because you lack romance is, let me be modest to say, it is a naive thing to say. Every married person listening to me at some point would admit to you they have second guessed the partner that they picked up, and especially in times of crisis. Why? Because yes, they will do the things we don't want them to do. They will differ with us in terms of even value systems. Sometimes they are the direct opposite of the choices we made. Sometimes they are literally the most annoying people out there. And sometimes we have to bear it and tolerate it. You would second guess, you would ask yourself, just like you are thinking you would have been better with your ex. A lot more married people ask this in their marriages than you know it or than they admit. And so no, I can't fault you for thinking in that light. The thing is, how much of that would you want to insist on? The thing is, not thinking if you made a mistake. What do you want to do with that thought? To let go of this beautiful thing you have as marriage and go out for an illusion? So many people think they are married to the wrong persons. But it's temporal. And it's because of one thing they're not happy about. Marriage is a lifelong journey. You will not be happy even after this stage. You will still not be happy with so many things. But guess what? That is part of the journey. That is what makes marriage. It is this good, this bad things, the mundane ones. It is the confusion. It is the second guessing of oneself. And then there's going to be a spark again. And then the bubbly moments. They're going to come the times when you be like, this is the best thing that ever happened to you. But the problem is making permanent decisions for temporal circumstances. And this is what you are about to do. The next thing, interesting. I love this quote of yours. I am not cheating and I do not intend to. I already mentioned that, but let me buttress the point a bit more. Just so you understand, it starts with the mind. It starts with thinking about it. It starts with regurgitating the thoughts. It starts with hoping and wishing and yearning. It starts with closing your eyes and seeing him. It starts with wanting to just stare at him. Sometimes you go on his social media and you go through his pictures and see how his progress and all whatnot. You check out on his wife, you said he's married, and his kids. You start thinking of the possibility of putting yourself in the picture. You start thinking of the possibility of just saying hello. It starts with all of that. This in itself is adultery at its finest. Because the physical bit is just the final stage. You are not cheating. It's my big laugh. You have already cheated. So think about the number of times you've fantasized about your ex. Those are the number of times you have cheated on your husband. Next thing I'll say, it's not the last point. I want. Now let me take this slowly as possible. There's what we need and what we want. And our needs are a necessity and a priority for survival, while our wants are luxury, meaning that our needs are the things that we cannot do without. Our wants are the things that are occasional, where every now and then they're like desserts. But our needs are the proper food in itself. The things that are necessary for marriage to thrive. Our wants, we can always do without. What are our needs? Marriage is all about needs. Vision, value, emotional stability, financial stability, love, mutual respect, commitment, intimacy, time spending together. The wants in marriage will be traveling abroad, buying new cars, a bit of tick here and there, romance, and all of those things. And if you look at these other things we call wants, it's not like they're not important, but if they're not there, your marriage would still go on. Your marriage will still thrive. Tell me about emotional instability. I would understand. Tell me about financial instability. Tell me about a lack of love. Tell me about disrespect Tell me about lack of commitment. I would understand. But not butterflies. Not tick tick like we call it. Not these temporal things that tomorrow you can always get them. And like I always say, the ones we want could come tomorrow. So we can always wait for them. But you see, needs, it is only how for how much. Because for how long? Because think about it. It is only how long you can tolerate disrespect. It is only how long you can tolerate a marriage that has no values, no vision, nowhere we're going to. It is only for how long you can tolerate financial instability for the most part. But you see these other things, you can deal with them. And I had to put that out there because when we keep insisting on I want, we miss out on the things that we already have, which are the needs which are most important in our marriages. Marriage for convenience is like building on sand. It might hold up for a while, but the storms will definitely shake you. Choosing someone for comfort instead of love and purpose has consequences. True fulfillment comes from alignment of heart, mind, and values. Now, before we get into our solution bit for the day, remember this. Marriage for convenience is like building on sand. It might hold up for a while, but storms will come, it will shake you, and the building will definitely collapse. Choosing someone for comfort instead of love and purpose has consequences. True fulfillment comes from alignment of heart, mind, and values. Hopefully, we've done a good job explaining this case clearly. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some potential solutions. Don't touch that dial.
All right, people, this is indeed thought-provoking. Here are the highlights of this analysis. Let's break it down. On one side, we see a wife battling with unhappiness and loneliness within her marriage. On the other side, a husband who appears to have a provider mentality over partner mentality. Also an ex who brings back the thrill and fantasies from the past. Not forgetting the children as silent observers of a dance they can't yet understand. But hold up, here's the hook, the moment you've all been waiting for. Those answers, those breakthroughs, that reversal, it's rolling up right now.
Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. This is about that time where we do propose solutions to our case of today. Now, having watched up to this point, the question you likely have is, how is modern exposure reshaping African marriages, and are couples prepared for the new demands? We have some proposed solutions here that we hope will do justice to this topic. Now, first of it all, my dear sister, you did ask a question. For how long will this continue? And is there anything that my husband can do or I can do to change this aspect about my husband? Proposed solution. Number one, communication. If I would say spot on diagnosis is the fact that I think you really lack the communication because of everything you said. You never for once said, oh, I've tried to talk to him. I've tried to tell him how I feel about it. And maybe he's then nonchalant. Maybe he's, insensitive to your needs. I would understand. But then it's clear that there's lack of communication. Maybe one-sided communication. Maybe communication is void on both sides. What I'm saying is that we have to go back to talking to each other. Because if you do not talk to him, who else do you talk to? If you do not approach him and talk to him like you have just spoken to me and even more, he is your husband, he's meant to listen to you. Who else would you speak to? And that's why I always say before you come to counseling, make sure that you have tried to do all of what you are meant to be doing before running out here. Because again, you could come and I give you points where you might not, again, it might be disservice to you. Why? Because there are lots of things that would just require you communicating that to your husband, and at the end of the day, your husband will just, you'll be shocked to see that you're meeting him halfway. You might be shocked to know that he has been boiling and dying to talk to you too. And coming to say, babe, this is what I think and this is how I feel all this while might just be the beginning of the solution or the spark of that romance that you have so yearned for a long time. So please, communication is of the essence. Manner of presentation. And I know we women, we always I want to say my mind, I have to speak, you have to know how I feel and all of whatnot. Of course, we are emotional beings and it's only fair that we flow as such. However, it is very telling of the fact that it's void of emotional intelligence. Now, when this void is there, regardless of the fact that yes, what you're saying is true, it has a way of bruising a man's ego. So your tone and the choice of words will matter. So you could have a good point, but you pass it on the wrong way. And like I said, most men will not even admit to it. So they know that yes, you're right, but again, their ego is at play. And so there's a way you would present it to him with massaging his ego. I always talk about this massaging of ego, and it looks like, okay, no, a man should not have ego because ego is egoistic. No, a man's ego should be massaged. A man's ego should be protected, because if you take off a man's ego, he's really literally nothing. And so I think we need a segment to really talk about ego properly, just so that we get it in the right context of it. Now, every man loves honor and respect, and it starts with how you speak to them, especially in the area of their weaknesses. Now, you think about it. Babe, you work too hard, and you always take care of every other person but yourself. I think it's about time I spoil you a bit. Don't worry, I'll do it. I have everything planned. I want us to go out. I have this amazing place in town that I want to take us there. You have massaged his ego. You've made him feel like, you know what? Hey, I'm not the problem here. You've made him feel like, oops, wow, I'm not to be blamed in this one. You've honored him. You've given him his place, his flowers. And with that, whatever it is you want to say, he listens to it. Because yes, you've touched him. You brought out the baby boy in him. And of course, there's nothing you ask at that point that will not be feasible, or he will not grant it. Initiate fun ideas. Surprise outings. This is about you and him. This is marriage. It takes two. While you're seeking romance from his part, I need you to equally bring romance to the table. It is not just about him, because if he brings it, it might not be enough. You need to bring your own half to the table, and so that it could be complete. How about you initiate these couple games? How about, you said he loves soccer, right? When he's doing soccer, you join him. For starters, if he's watching and his favorite team is Chelsea or Kumbu Strikers, how about you join him and take the other team so you can make fun of whatever it is, the match that is going on? Or maybe you join him and support and hail his players. Sometimes you have to speak to him in a language. It is not just about communication. You're speaking to him in a language that he understands. And everybody have their love languages. What is your husband's love language? What is it about him that when you start talking and communicating in those lines, he will not resist but listen to you? If it is soccer, then be part of it. So he would listen. And when you're watching soccer together, you will smuggle in everything. Matter of fact, you will ask for money, he would give. Matter of fact, you would smuggle in the romantic part, and before long, the soccer, especially on a good day, if his team is won, it will end with yet another match on the sofa, if you know what I mean. So yes, these are antics. These are, things that you initiate that would make all the difference. Talk about love notes. Talk about just hide notes in his wallet, in the pocket of his suit, that when he's surprised, like, what's this? And he sees something powerful that has encouraged him for the day. Something that speaks to his masculinity. Something that encourages him in the tedious work he's doing. Something that tells him that tomorrow is going to be better, that he's appreciated with all of what he's doing. Start doing that. Sometimes they say, for us to get, we give. And it comes back to us in folds, many folds than we could imagine. It's a seed, remember, that you're sowing. And the beneficiary of that, the first beneficiary of it is you. Compliment and admire him genuinely. I'm not just talking about lay words that you throw every now and then. Like, you can really look at him deeply and assure him that he's an amazing, the best man that you should have gotten married to. And on your own part, it might not genuinely come from inside, but those words matter a great deal to him because he needs it. Once you start complimenting him, the things he does, you amplify them, you boost him. If he has done something that cost £1, for instance, You give him compliments for £5. The ripple effect is going to come with goodies for £10 for you. And these are just things, again, like I said, simple things that you might start implementing now. And before long, you'll be amazed to see how much of the spark that has come into them. Men love compliments, make no mistakes. Like I always say, it massages their ego. And again, it gets them from the place seeing themselves as problems, burdens, into the heroes that they are meant to be. The next thing, which is, if you've not heard anything up to this level, please listen to this with all of you. You know what? Your ex is expired. It's called, for some reason, ex. They just let it be because they don't want to complete the word. Your ex means expired. You have to be intentional at letting go of these emotions. You have to be intentional and not meeting with your ex again. You have to be intentional and not committing this adultery physically. You have to be intentional at stopping this and keeping your marriage. And that would mean you have to block them off social media. You most likely exchange contact. You would have to delete the contact. You would have to stop any means of communication. You would have to stop secretly spying upon their wives, even if their family, anything that has to do with them. This is for your sanity. This is for you to regain your mental or your emotional consciousness and start channeling those emotions back to your husband, because like I said, it's only a matter of time. And what you do not want to happen would happen, and it's going to be yet another exceptional case that we'll have to deal with. These are seeds that you water. When you check up on their profiles, that's a seed. When you secretly spy on them, it's a seed. Sometimes we have exes, again, let me just add this, that we cannot necessarily cut off contact. In this case, I say cut the contact, but there are some cases where we had maybe kids with them, and then there's need for co-parenting. In these circumstances, you would have to drastically limit your contact with them, and your partner should be part of the setup. The best way to deal with an ex is to get your partners involved. That way, that's a boundary that has been set, and they cannot bypass it, even if they wanted to. Your partner is inside, it shows respect for them and transparency for the most part. You are not at gunpoint to entertain your ex, no. These are desires that you can kill them. It is a show of strength. It is not weakness, and for the most part, it is wisdom. Self-generate fun. Sometimes, I always say this, we get into marriage and say we're looking for somebody to complete us. But like I've always said, dating yourself would mean finding completeness in yourself, finding happiness within you, being able to create happiness for yourself. Your partners will not be able to fulfill all the needs in marriage. Matter of fact, and just like this, you will realize there's a void, and especially for those who got married out of convenience, you will realize there's a whole lot of things you will not get. Now, it is not for you to wake up and leave. It is for you to start saying, I can create some of the things I am asking. So even if your husband is coming with the happiness, guess what? There's a part that is expected from you. And so you do fun things too. So because it could just entail you sitting there and expecting life to be as bubbly and happy and all the fun things. It would entail you socializing too, considerably. I mean, mindful of the fact that you're a married person. Self-care. Do some things for yourself, not necessarily wait for your husband to buy you a gift. You can do that for yourself. I mean, there's no stopping you. You revive personal joy like that. Because yes, you deserve it. It starts with doing small fun things. Those things alone. You can paint, you can dance, you can read. You can hang out with decent friends. Keyword, decent friends, otherwise that's highway to the grave. I had to insist on that. But just do something that will not necessitate your husband to always be present before you can be happy or fulfilled in marriage. This is not me saying, oh no, your husband is not meant to be there. I've insisted on the fact that he has to be there. It takes two to tango, but there are some things and some needs only you will be able to fulfill in marriage. And I know that most married people listening understand exactly what this is. And this is just so you know that When you're facing these things, you're not alone. And if every other person would walk away simply because they lacked something or they needed something at some point, they could not have it, every married person would have been divorced. Well, this was the most I could propose as solution, and hopefully this is your last bus stop. But remember something, don't chase your old life or try to revive the past. Invite the best version of yourself into your marriage today. Show your partner the energy, the love, the spark you want to share. You might be surprised how it inspires them too. Marriage isn't perfect and it rarely matches our dreams, but it can be powerful if we choose wisely, act boldly, and invest in communication, fun, and respect. That's how good marriages become great ones. Don't let boredom rob you of the joy of a solid home. Fun can be created, romance can be learned, and temptations can be managed before it grows roots. You are not alone. Many people are in this situation, and I hope, again, like I always say, this is the last bus stop. Just about time for us to get into the comment section where other people, other delicious are talking and giving ideas, just so that it doesn't feel like Mommy Deli is overburdening you with these many nuggets or these many points. Let's get onto the comment section and see what the delicious are saying.
But it's not all doom and gloom, people. There's hope and there's a way to bring back the spark. Self-empowerment is crucial in marriage for better communication and understanding. She could reintroduce fun into the marriage, reignite the you that's been missing, create joy on your own, and invite your spouse to meet that vibrant version of you. We must teach our partners to meet our emotional needs because romance and fun can be learned. We must learn to manage temptation to protect family stability. You must keep the past in the past, focus on today, and protect the family you have built.
Right, just about time for us to delve into the comment section where a lot of delicious are saying so many things. And just so it doesn't feel like it is just Mommy Deli who is there talking and giving all of these different counsel. And yes, I might be wrong on the things I say, but there's a couple of delicious that we picked insightful comments and we will be reading them. So our first commenter for the day, hello delicious, Karin A. Tambedek. Hello Karin, how are you? Karin says that with rest assured, you cannot get 100% of what you want in a relationship. But talking to him about taking you out sometimes, it is important. It is refreshing. Being stuck in a particular routine sometimes makes marriage boring. So make him see this in a polite conversation. It is important to go out, have fun, and laugh together. Enough said, Karin. I'm happy you said that. And hopefully she can pick a thing or two from it. Next commenter we have Tobias Agata. Hello Tobias Agata, thank you so much for your awesome comments. She says, Madam, for 5 years you haven't complained. It is now that you recently bumped into your ex that the feelings of your old self come back. If you haven't been able to make him bring out the best in all these years, then better accept your fate and move on with your marriage. Or you both go for private counseling. Tobias is saying, I mean, literally the same thing that a lot more persons will be saying, you know. There's a whole lot you have to live for in the marriage than exit. Okay? So next person we have Immaculate Punti. Immaculate, I love the fact that you're a married woman from the tag on your name. It says, to me, your fun life should not be tied to your spouse. If they are not the social type, you could still function your outings alone. With friends or your kids, outings might make you happy, whereas it could also mean making your spouse uncomfortable if they aren't used to it. You're right. You could join a women's meeting group, a church choir, or a social group in your church. Just at your job site, you could make sure that you also attend socials. I love that. I mean, this is a married woman talking, and I love that you're talking from a place of a lived experience, you know. And I'm happy that you put the pause, like, you know what, while you're going out, hopefully your husband accepts or agrees to it, because at the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, you could go out there and you keep going out there, and then it's just the beginning of more outings that have disastrous consequences. Let's take the last comment from Graham Bojang. Graham Bojang is saying, Or can I learn to love the simple life? All the things that destroy a marriage are outside. Oh my God, this is so powerful. You can leave him and enjoy out there, but eventually you'll find yourself missing him again. That's how life works. If you don't learn to be satisfied, you will never be. I love this. This is so powerful. Thank you so much, Grabo, for those amazing words. Let me reiterate on what he said. All the things that destroy marriage are out there. Again, simply in other words, the grass always looks greener out there. But when you get close to it, it is only a reflection of other colors that seemingly looked like it was green. Right, we are going to have a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will be doing the last segment of Hello Delhi, which is the nugget for the day. Stay with us. Don't touch that dial.
With MoneyFX, sending money home just got faster. Enjoy top exchange rates, low fees, and transfers that land in under 10 minutes. Whether it's school fees in Cameroon, hospital bills in Nigeria, or family support in Ghana, MoneyFX makes every transfer count. MoneyFX, fast money transfer when it matters most.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Nuggets, nuggets, nuggets. I always love my nuggets because, hey, if you've not had anything so far, these are maybe motivational stuff, maybe just, insightful lines that would matter a great deal at the end of the show. And hopefully you take a thing or two from it. The first nugget of the day: what is marriage? And this is a question that loads of you, especially singles listening to us, would ponder on it. Let me say this. Answering to the question of what is marriage is a broad spectrum. But summarizing it for the nugget of the day, your mindset and your understanding of marriage matters a great deal. There's a lot of ingredients about marriage, and if you do not have a proper understanding of these ingredients I'm about to talk about from the aspects of a Christian, because again, the sister who sent this is a Christian, and I might as well talk about that in that light. The first ingredient: covenant of love. It's not just about a man and a woman. Marriage is God's idea, meaning that the covenant is for three persons: God, man, and wife. It is not a contract with an expiry date. It is a lifelong journey with limited options of divorce. And since God is a factor, you will not just take God out of the picture. You will not just walk away because you're not happy, your husband is not happy, your wife is not happy. What about God? Did you factor in him before taking that step? And so the covenant of marriage has to be a key ingredient. Understand, the covenant of love has to be a key ingredient. Understanding this is one step towards the right direction in marriage. Next beautiful ingredient in marriage: mutual compatibility. When I talk about mutual compatibility, I'm not talking about sameness. I'm talking about spiritual, mental, biological, temperamental compatibility, value systems, physical compatibility. Compatibility is not sameness. Again, it is complementing each other in the level of your strengths and your weaknesses. And when you see so many people do so well in marriage, it is how much of these compatibility boxes they tick. Now, again, I didn't say sameness. And it does not mean that you would have everything that your partner has or everything they do not have. I'm just saying, when I am down, you are up. When I am weak, you are strong. When I'm low, you are high. That's what makes compatibility in marriage. And the next ingredient I'll talk about is marriage is commitment. The phase of marriage where compatibility has even fizzled out. Think about physical compatibility, where you love somebody for their looks. This slim, tall guy with six packs, dark, looking all handsome, and then you got married to them, they become bald. They become pot-bellied. They become as huge 10 times like you met them. Are you going to say there's no physical compatibility again because that's what you met? That's where commitment in marriage comes to play. Meaning that I am no longer seeing the compatibility necessarily. I'm no longer seeing even the butterflies, the love, that used to be there. But we are committed to being together. Now, these are exceptions of toxicity, this exception of abuse, exception of when it is life-threatening. I'm talking about the challenges that are in marriage that will definitely come. I'm talking about the things about marriage that you did not anticipate that will show up. Commitment is of the essence. You got married to a figure 8, then now it's a figure 0. Are you going to walk away from that? Commitment says, I'll stick with you to the end. You got married and she was all of these. Commitment says, yes, we've come this far, and yes, we've lost this, but I choose to stick with you onto the next level. This is the difference between married people who have been in marriage for the many years that you've seen. They have faced even worse challenges, but there's a part of commitment that they understand. Now, these were the beautiful and intriguing spice that I would love for us to have. You to have the mindset about marriage. But the next intriguing thing is contentment in marriage is the next thing I'll talk about. A lot of marriages in this dispensation, they break and they fail because people lack contentment. You want to compete. You want to run your marriage based off of what your neighbor is doing or is showing. The grass is always greener. It always looks like they know the best. You wish that you had something different. You're not contented. You want to have this and have this and have all of that. Like I said, the needs and the wants. There's a part of contentment and fulfillment that comes in marriage. Again, it has a lot to do still, like I said, with commitment. So there's an ingredient of commitment which has to do with contentment. And I hope that you understand. When you get married, you will see other people who are more beautiful, more handsome, more rich, more influential. Matter of fact, more of what you would have loved. But contentment says, I cannot have it all. Contentment says, yes, I do not have even half of what other people have, but I am committed into being in this union with this person, and I'm contented until when the next phase throws whatever it is at us. I am contented. Now, if you have this mindset about marriage, a lot of exceptional cases will drastically reduce. If you have this mindset about marriage, it will be beautiful and it will not be chaos, toxicity, a battleground where you are constantly regretting your choices. And lastly, financial empowerment, economic empowerment is a great thing. Now, I do not want us, especially, and I say this to the women, to be in a setup where the man is the provider and it ends there. It is not about the man is the provider. The man is the main provider. But women provide too. He is the main provider because he is the leader, he is the head. But nothing stops a woman from providing for the home as well. Which means there are times when your husband will be lagging and you would step in. But you think about if you're not financially empowering yourself, marriage is bound to crash. Because at the end of the day, your husband will be found wanting, you'll be found wanting, the marriage will be found wanting, and there's no marriage that can survive without finances. And this, on the other hand, is saying that as a married man, there's need for your wife to empower themselves financially because, again, tomorrow is pregnant and we do not know the sex of the baby. Now, this was the much we could come up with as nuggets. Hopefully you pick a thing or two. And to our dear sister who came on board, I hope that this is your last bus stop. And I'm looking forward to you bringing your testimonies that whatever it is we said actually had a lasting impact on your marriage. Because we're here to build lasting and thriving relationships. Remember, true happiness in marriage isn't about finding the perfect partner, but about imperfectly loving the one you choose consistently with intentional effort. So this is where we call it a day. I hope you learned a thing or two. This is Hello Delhi, where love meets reflection, clarity leads the way, and where we're redefining authentic relationships. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, stay real, stay delicious, and do not forget to subscribe on all our social media handles. I am your intentional host, Deli Singer. I'll see you around.
Hello, hello, hello.